Hello everybody, what is up? Cobra here with this second installment in my customized Global War 2025 Meltdown game pieces. Here we have the Russian army coming after the Americans. Now, the Russians in this game are not really the premier power. Those familiar with the Cold War would definitely see, the Russians and at that point the USSR as kind of the premier strategic power that's going to be dominating the game, whereas in this game, Russia fulfills a more subordinate role to the Chinese faction in 2025, where the Russians are likely going to be, using their submarine fleet to cause some panic in the Atlantic and threaten the NATO allies in Europe. But other than that, the Russian economy isn't that big in this game, so they're not going to be pumping out hundreds and hundreds of units like the Chinese can sometimes do if they get on their warpath. So you can see here, I have still customized the Russians, and I definitely like their faction a lot. They have some of the most diverse units in the game, and that's because in this game I wanted to represent the different factions that kind of make up the Russian army. As many of you will see on the 2025 map, Russia has control of a aggressive anti-American Venezuela and Panama/Latin America. So to represent that, and then also some other little forces they have that, like in Kazakhstan and other places of the world that maybe in the 2025 universe may have joined the Russian Federation or at least are supported by them, I've added separate units to basically help differentiate those different factions, even though they are still Russian. So you can see here we've got the Russian army. Of course, like I said, pretty diverse when it comes to having some different variants of their units. So we can see first up we've got their airborne. Now, I went over these in my American video, probably one of my favorite additions that you guys can do to your games to help improve it. Just some 172 infantry on top of a airborne ship. Getting into the other units, we have their infantry. Now, of course, this is what comes in the game. Your standard, Chinese/Russian infantry, just a kind of modernized soldier, a little less modern than or futuristic as the Allied factions, which have like an exosuit type design. I've thrown in some Cold War infantry that I've got for them. So these guys usually I put in Latin America, a lot more underdeveloped, just kind of baseball cap, and then some slacks. And then the rest of these guys you can see are kind of Russian inspired or Warsaw Pact infantry that look good as these Russian kind of conscript soldiers. Over here in the armor department, we've got my modified Chinese tanks that I've turned into T-14 armadas. And you can see, of course, like in that video, up close, you can see some of the scarring that came from the modifications, but otherwise, it helps them be a little more different from the Chinese tanks. I'll just show you guys real quick, grabbing a Chinese armor piece. You can see that the Chinese tank kind of obviously has this big turret, whereas the Russian variant is a little more slimmed down, and the lack of the canisters off the back help break up the silhouette. So it definitely adds some more diversity to the, I guess you would call it Eastern Alliance in 2025. In the back, next to the airborne, we've got my ICBM marker that I got sent from HBG. So thank you to them for those, and I can now, they look pretty cool, kind of helping to show off where your most strategic assets are in this game. In the back here, we've got some 3D printed GIFs that got sent to me by a friend on the Axis and Allies Facebook page. And these are just some kind of rudimentary 3D printed pieces. Of course, up close, they're not miniature detailed, but they look really good to help add some diversity to the map. This helicopter, I don't know the designations of most of these units, but I know that this is a anti-submarine/transport, usually used in the Russian Navy. So usually I put this guy on the Baltic Sea flotilla that the Russians have for some anti-submarine warfare. Here we have the infamous Hind attack helicopter/transport. Pretty nice. This one looks a little bit better, so I really like that thing. And then we have the out-of-box Russian chopper. Looks a lot like the Apache. I kind of wish that they had went for, or I think it's not Russian, it's Chinese. All the Russian units in this game are Chinese, but then recolored for the Russians, and that's why I wanted to add a little bit of diversity because I didn't want the Russians to just be a Chinese reskin. I wanted them to have their own kind of flair to them. So here we've got the out-of-box Chinese/Russian fighter jet, and to help supplement some of those, I had some of these lying around. Not sure what game they're from, some old Axis and Allies type game, but threw those in as some extra Russian fighters. In the back here, we got the Russian Navy, one of the most different navies when it comes to some unit additions and modifications. So of course we've got the big old carrier in the back. I forget the designation, but thankfully HBG puts them on the bottom. So here we have the Project 2300. This is one of my favorite carriers in the game. Sadly, as Russia, you're usually not going to be building a fleet carrier, but who knows? Probably one day I'll build one just because I want to see it. It's kind of like the Caliphate carrier meme. Like, you've got to, at some point, see one of those hit the board because it's just a fun unit. So I really like that carrier. Just the size of it is really nice. Getting into the LSD or LHD, this is a slight modification to the Chinese variant that you get in the game, where I have a video, the same video as the tank modifications, where you can basically just chop down and sand down the island and the deck, and it helps make it look a little bit like a Mistral class Russian used or Russian serviced LHD. Just got the Chinese stock missile destroyer. I really wish that I kind of want to pick up some of the Russian ones because I really like the Russian Kirov class battle cruisers. I really want to use those. But with 2025, I definitely wanted to not spend or try to challenge myself to make and use what I had on hand to kind of supplement my forces and make my game a lot cooler without having to go out of my way and buy a bunch of extra units. And getting into the last couple things, I had a friend of mine print out these really cool Russian submarines. I really like these. I forget the variant of them, or the model. They're from the 80s, and they're just a kind of diesel attack submarine. Probably not the thing that you would be firing cruise missiles from, but they are one of the most different looking submarines in the game, so I definitely like having these for the Russians. And lastly, the small little Russian frigate, another 3D printed piece, and not a ton of great detail on this guy, but let's see if we can get it to focus. But you can see it is a shorter, kind of lower silhouette ship, so definitely kind of detail where detail is needed. But I do have a few of these stock frigates that I just kept for the Russians, just for some other, in case the Russians decide to start pumping out small fleet units. Lastly, we have the old HBG submarine that they still offer, and you can pick up. They're really cheap, so if you can spray paint them, I definitely suggest getting some for this game because they are really nice ballistic submarine pieces. Even if you don't want to glue them to ballistic submarine ships, you can easily tell that they are. One, they're just massive, and two, they have the little, you can see those squares, the hatches that open up where they would fire their missiles from. So definitely something that I advise you get. They're really nice pieces. Not super well detailed, but submarines aren't the most complex units. Overall, I want to keep these videos short, so I hope you guys enjoyed my modified units for Global War 2025, and I hope you guys are ready to see the next of the Eastern Pact Alliance pieces. Hope to see you guys again. Leave a comment down below, consider subscribing if you aren't already, and I will see you guys again. Cobra, out.